Well, the predictable has inevitably happened. Once again, another life has been lost in Minnesota, Minneapolis. That this could easily have been predicted given the tensions and everything else going on. No real surprise there, I don't think. And I would expect there'll be more. I don't expect this to be the end. But I do expect things to escalate, to ratchet up. And the war of words is a big part of it. It's the war of ideas, the info war that's surrounding this, which feeds into this, which really started this. It's a division within our society. And this could get a lot uglier and it could spread. And it is something you need to be prepared for. We're going to get into that. We're going to look at a little bit about what happened, and then we're going to look at the bigger picture, what drives it, and what it means for you, what you have to do about it. So these are all things to take into account here. I am pulling up my screens here to keep up with everybody. So hang on, guys. We're going to get into this, and I'm going to share some screens. We're just going to start talking it because, yeah, it's an ugly picture. There's no other way around it. It's an ugly picture, and it's going to get uglier from the looks of it. Now, there is a possibility. We'll talk about that at the very end. There is a possible way to throw some water on this and still maintain law and order, but it's not likely because that does not seem to be where people want to take this. So this is why you need to pay attention today, more than ever. So we're going to do some shares here. We're going to look at this. Whoops, not where I want it to be at. Hang on, guys. We're going to share screen, bada bing. And here we are. As we all know, there was this anti-ICE disruptor. I'm going to try to avoid giving his name out because I understand now that's one of the things you're not supposed to do on this platform. And I'm not going to show any of the video because this platform has deleted a bunch of channels and it seems to be random who they take out. But in the news, in this news niche, it's a dangerous place to be on this platform. So I'm going to try to work my way through this and you'll know what I'm talking about. You will know what I'm talking about. Well, this individual, you know, for whatever the case was, he was a member of one of these signal groups that monitored ICE. That's a fact. They monitored ICE and they went to wherever ICE was. Now, what this specific individual's role is, hey, a lot remains to be seen and determined and known. And maybe much will never be known about what his true motivations were. There are alleged motivations, and there's a lot of allegations about it all. But we know that he was there amongst the crowd that was confronting the ICE agents. So this is a little background there. We'll get into it in a little bit. We're going to go into the Constitution. We're going to go into a lot of stuff. Let's just keep trolling down the charts here, and I'll talk it out as we come through them here. So, as you know, the protests are kicking up there. The individual or the individuals involved in taking the life will be under investigation. According to the federal law enforcement, the state is not happy with their claims because they have rolled up the information. But there's a big tug of war between the states and the federal government in this case. And there's specific reasons why it's that way there. Oh, what happened here? Let's see. Here's a legal expert explaining the use of force here. And let's see if I can get down to it because it's scrolled where I didn't want to be. I don't want to show his name if I can avoid it. You know who he is, though. And this kind of goes along with what I've been telling you guys already. And that's the officers have a reasonable, now this is from this so-called expert here, who is a self-defense attorney, Andrew Baraka. And I've said this to you guys in other ways before. It says the officers have to have a reasonable perception of imminent threat of unlawful deadly force, and that's it. And then he said the perception does not have to be correct. Their perception has to be reasonable. And, so really and truly, what went down there, and I've seen some more video on it just a little bit ago. This individual, so if it's in the next, had in his possession, as I'm going to show it here, a Sig Sauer Bang Bang. And allegedly, that was his Sig Sauer Bang Bang. As you can see, it's cocked open right there. The slides back, no rounds in the chamber. Supposedly, there was an extra magazine. Now, I'm going to say this. He had the right to carry it. And furthermore, I do believe in the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. And some states, you don't have the rights to, like Maryland, to bear arms around a protest. But that was not the case in Minnesota, and it's not the case in other states. We're going to talk about protest also in a little bit when we get into the Constitution. Because there's no constitutional right to protest, contrary to popular belief. But all that said, no, you don't believe me. I'll show you. It's the right for a peaceful assembly. All right, we'll get into it in a little bit. But anyway, so that's a little bit different. It's just, it might be splitting frog hairs, but still. So this individual had this device in his back. He had it stuffed in his back. Now, Christy Nome and some of the others report he was waving around the video. No, he had a phone in his hand. He wasn't waving this around. So, it's a lot of it's hard. I think what happened there was awful, but lawful. Let's just break it down. That's how I said lawful, but awful. Or awful, but lawful, however you want to slice it and dice it. Because here's from the latest video I've seen what happened. One of the agents in, I guess, a gray suit or something, somebody said the word GUN twice. And as he was being pushed down, or whatever the case was, he was apparently resisting arrest. And that was maybe his biggest thing that got him. You're not supposed to resist arrest. But this was pulled from his back. Now, maybe that's why he suddenly tried to stand up. But as this was pulled from his back, the word, the word nug was, and backwards, flip that word, was said. And then another one, he suddenly starts to try to get up. He lurches up. He has something in his hand. And he's surrounded by about 5 different law enforcement officials at that time, ICE and Border Patrol. Apparently, it's mostly Border Patrol at that point. He was surrounded by 5 of them. It's a moment of confusion. A lot just went. If you saw the video, it's very confusing. A lot of things happen really fast. But he's surrounded by these Border Patrol officers, maybe ICE officers. And this was, like I said, it was in his hand. No, this wasn't in his hand. It was actually the other guy got it. But as he was pulling it away, it discharged in the other guy's hand. He didn't have, from the looks of the video, he didn't have his finger on the trigger. This model happens, this Sig Sauer model, the P320, also known as, I think, the Cobra Master, the Scorpion Master. I believe that's the nickname for it. Is a P320, Sig Sauer P320. It discharged, and these things apparently are known for that. So suddenly there's a big scuffle, agents all around, somebody says nug, and the guy starts to get up. He has something in his hand, probably his phone in this case, and the confusion involved, they thought he was about to do something. That's quite plausible. They may have said, oh, he's drawing it. They didn't know. In fact, some of the agents went, well, where is it after the fact? And then somebody said, oh, the guy back down there's got it. There was confusion. There was obvious confusion on the side. And if you see the video with all the commotion going on, that's easy to understand. Somebody says, nug. Again, what that means on my channel, flip that word around. And suddenly a guy starts to lurch up and he's got something in his hand. I've seen certain other videos and pictures that made it look like that's what he had in his hand, but no, the other guy had it. That's pretty much proven now by some of the videos. The other guy actually had it. But That's where the shots were taken. And it's quite plausible that a guy thought he was drawing on them. And if you're in a law enforcement situation, you're resisting arrest, and you get all this confusion around the cop thinks you're about to draw on him, well, that's what happens. Like I said, awful, but lawful. Perhaps the courts will look at this, and there may be a trial on it, most likely, and he will probably be acquitted, released, whatever from that occasion. So but that's just going to cause the riots to go worse, because the side that on the side of the protest, if they want to call them that, in Minneapolis and Minnesota, they're not going to take it that way. They are preset, prejudged, and preconditioned to take it the other way. These riots will just get worse. They may go, gosh knows how long. But there may be more instances, because when you're mixing law enforcement and people trying to impede their operations, where this guy was, where I've seen arguments all over the case, but I get down to why was he there? That's my bottom line. Why was he even there? Now, supposedly he was stepping in to assist some woman who had been pushed down. But, right in front of and right in the middle of all those ICE or Border Patrol agents, whatever they were, that's asking for it. So I don't blame him for having a nug on his person. I myself, and Extra Magazine said, I do have an issue with him taking issue about him having an arm and magazines, because that is actually a freedom that we all should have, and we should not make it conditional on who's got it and where they're at and what side of the spectrum on, because the Constitution is the Constitution. If you start eroding it, everybody loses. I am the president of Freedom Restoration Foundation. I believe in the right to bear arms. I believe in the right of freedom of speech and peaceable assembly. Now, peaceable assembly does not include breaking a law. Impeding the federal law enforcement activity, whether this guy was or not, is still breaking the law. He was there among them, those doing that. He was right in the middle of them, and apparently trying to assist one, maybe. So when these guys were out apprehending a criminal, they've apprehended a lot of criminals. And so, you have to take these things in context. Now, some of you may not agree with me. Some of you may not like what I got to say here. He was a nurse who was helping veterans. That's true. I even saw a thing where he did some kind of funeral lot for some veteran. So, he wasn't all bad, probably, but he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. That's a fact. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Now, getting back to this whole protest thing, some people say, why is this all happening in Minnesota? Because Minneapolis is a sanctuary city. They aid and hide these federal criminals on purpose. And they've done it to up their rolls and their votes within the election scheme of things. And, this makes good cover for the governor, Tim Walz, and his adjutant general, Frey, both of whom knew about all this corruption that we were talking about earlier. They both had their hands in the cookie jar from the time they swore into office. They were briefed on it immediately and have covered it up. Massive billions of dollars of corruption. So they would like nothing better than to take the spotlight off them and to push it back on the feds. So there's a lot of optics involved with this, and the optics are what hurts the cause of those that are trying to enforce the law. You got to remember, these federal agents are enforcing federal law that was passed by Congress and signed by a president. Now, in this case, I don't know which president signed these laws. Could have been any of them. Doesn't matter. It's the law. They are out there enforcing law. They're interdicting mostly criminals, but you got to understand, and most of the criminals, about 49% of them are violent criminals, drug runners, human traffickers. But anybody who crosses a border illegally is technically a criminal, lawbreaker. If you break the law, it's illegal. They like to call them undocumented Immigrants. That's a polite way of saying it. But the fact of the matter is, the way they came here broke the law. And they come here usually being escorted by the drug cartels. They're the ones that control the traffic in the United States. So their being here is enriching the organizations that have been fueling drugs and trafficking people into this country. But here's the bad thing. The bad thing is that the side who's against them enforcing the law has been doxing them. They want to find out who they are because they want to go after their families, their homes. That's happened. That's why these guys wear masks. Now, suddenly you got all these masked law enforcement agents running through the community, and the optics looks bad because some of their masks are running through a community, and of course the other side manages to up the ante by putting out tons of posts on social media showing people like Renee Good, oh, she was a nice, sweet mother. And then they'll show a picture of her with flowers all around her, and then they'll show a ICE agent or Border Patrol agent, with a long nug, smoke pole aimed, looking all mean and menacing. And that's the kind of stuff they're throwing out there. That's the information war. And the optics on it are pretty rough. You got to admit that. And that's what is swaying a lot of people because people are seeing what they're seeing is what's happening on the street. What they're not seeing is the people that are actually being detained for the most part. What they're not seeing is the criminal networks. What they're not seeing and forgetting about is all the drugs that's come in this country. What they're forgetting about is how many lives, hundreds of thousands of lives we've lost in America over this, far more than many, many, many wars. Or just the whole impact of human trafficking. Yes, it's real. What is human trafficking? It is slavery. Tell me it's not slavery. If you think it's not slavery, put a 1 in the chat room. I'd like to see what you think. If you disagree and think that's not slavery, put a 1 in the chat room. So the people that are aiding it, look, what do they do? What do these anti-protesters do? They go in the streets and they blow whistles. Why do they blow whistles? Well, blowing the whistles do two things. One, it discombobulates the agents. They're hearing all this racket and noise. It discombobulates them. It puts them in a higher state of adrenaline. Therefore, they're more likely to do something violent. But worst of all, it notifies everybody in the whole community, here they come. So if there's somebody that don't want to be apprehended, what's he do? He runs out the back door. You're an illegal alien drug runner, cartel member, human trafficker, and you start hearing all these whistles and commotion outside, or are you just going to sit and wait till somebody knocks on your door? I don't think it's very likely. You're going out the back door. You're running down the back alley, down another street. So these people are literally aiding and abetting drug runners, human traffickers, slavery, and they're making it all look pretty. Well, Donald Trump was elected on getting these people out. That's what he campaigned on. That was his main issue. And that was the main issue in the polls according to the voters. That's what they wanted to see happen. Now, the opinion is changing just because of the optics of it all. It's the optics. And the optics, like I said, they don't look good, but you only see one side of the coin. And that's really the tip of the iceberg. The other side's huge, but that's not what people are saying. That's not what's in the news. The news aren't telling you how many people we lost to fentanyl or whatever else that's come across the border. They're not telling you about the price and toll of human trafficking. They're not showing you the lives of people these immigrants have taken. They're ignoring all that to push forward their agenda. Like Renee Good. Well, there's some other history with her too, but they ignore that stuff. Just like you remember the Maryland man, the Maryland dad, who wasn't from Maryland, and he actually had a stay order issued on him where he couldn't approach his family because he had committed violent acts of abuse against his wife, and so he had a court order to keep him out of the area. But they didn't talk about that. Oh no, he was the Maryland dad, the Maryland man. Oh, yeah, remember that? That's how they cast things. You just got to keep that in mind. It's the game. Everybody's being played, and the playing is heavy. So Now, this one specific individual, I think he might have been more innocent than Renee Good, but he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. You don't go into the middle of a law enforcement operation like that and stand right in the middle of all these agents and think you can't expect the worst thing to happen. You need to stay the heck away from it. So whatever his real motivations were, I don't know. To say that Kristi Noem, I think, has been a little dishonest. You can't assume intent by what somebody had in their pocket. If you did, you would think I was going to go out and mass bang people all over the place. Well, I ain't never done, no plan to. But yeah, I pack heavy. I may have 2 or 3 nugs on me at any given time in my pocket. And sometimes if I am just with one, I got an extra magazine. Yes. All the time, everywhere, with no violence or malice intended. And hope never, ever to use them. I've carried for years. I've even been in a fisticuff when I had one in my pocket. I pull out no! The fisticuff wasn't life-threatening in a situation. I wasn't about to pull a nug. That's stupid. But now there are people that are stupid, though, unfortunately. And they run it for everybody. So, yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of people don't have a heart, and that's the scary thing. There's psychopaths, sociopaths out there who have no empathy. That's a bad thing. But you can't fix them. That's just the way they are. They got to be monitored in some other way, but that's what it is. But then the United States, we've divided philosophically. And people on the woke side have been pushing a particular agenda. Oh, it was a plane crash? All right, I'll look at the notes. I'm going to look at the chat in a little bit. Most flights have been shut down. Anyway, so yeah, just for the people to be watching more, I'm going to get through the news first, and then I'll go into the chat session for a little bit. But, the background is that we have a situation wherein the tensions have been fanned up. The left has been taught and preaching, and they got a mantra just constantly going out talking Effieism. It starts with fasci and then ends with ism, and they're believing that everybody on the right's that way. They're telling that Donald Trump is going to create martial law, and he might in Minneapolis. He's going to do all these things. That there's going to be no elections. There's even a big YouTuber in this niche who keeps saying that. That don't help the situation whatsoever. That's fanning the fire. So I don't think that's the case. But anyway, that's the kind of stuff that's been put out there. It's the information war. And I sit all over my social media on YouTube. I see their posts constantly, throwing stuff out. Occasionally, I'll throw something else out there, countervailing whatever they throw out, and then they just all get mad. It just, they get mad. And most of them, there's no reason with. They're so into that. Well, that's a whole lot of this country. Our country is divided, and it's coming to a head. And I've even heard some people say the Civil War is going to start in Minneapolis. I don't know. Let's hope we don't have a Civil War, because I've told you guys for a long time, a Civil War is one of the worst things that could ever happen. But it might. And there's some people who would actually like for it to happen. Probably on both sides of the aisle. I think the left has been pushing for it for a long time, because they actually want to bring this country down. There's an agenda for that. I've talked about that many times. The best thing we can do is to keep our head on our shoulders and keep our eyes wide open and head on a swivel too. We got to be constantly situationally aware where we're at. And I say, don't go into these places of danger and consternation. That's been my advice from way back. Anyway, so I'm not here to incite anything. I'd rather throw a wet towel over it. But and I've got a prescription for a wet towel. I'll talk about that in a little bit. Let's get through some more news items here. So, anywho, if we look at this, yeah. See, this is what the feds were getting. I hate it when these ads pop up. You got to kind of wait on them to pop down. There we go. Feds were arresting the equatorial illegal alien Jose Herrera Chuma. I don't know how you say that. So anyway, an operation that resulted in this guy. Oop, I got his name. I'm not going to say it, but anyway. So this, that's who they were after right there. That guy. I guess everybody should have been risking their lives to protect a criminal, right? I have a hard time seeing that. I just have a hard time seeing that, my friends. Anyway, and then Keith Overman, AOC, and more call for Tim Walt's response. Activate the National Guard, they said. Well, he did. Of course, AOC came on TV and said, oh, we all just need to get along. She actually was on a TV interview. It made sense, but, it's not what she does. Maybe what she says on TV, what she does. Otherwise, seems to sing a different tune. Anyway, so he's activated the state National Guard, blasting the federal government. That's what he wants to do. He's posturing. Anything to get the limelight off him and his corrupt self. Him and his attorney general, too. And they're both out there in the forefront going blah, 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 and the mayor of Minneapolis, too. So, the U.S. Army orders military police to get ready for possible Minneapolis deployment. And military police would probably be better for the job than the 11th Airborne Corps out of Alaska. But, the airborne units in Fort Bragg are activated too. So Fort Bragg, Alaska, they're activated in case Donald Trump invokes the insurgency law. And that's going to depend on a lot of what that National Guard activity turns out to be. I mean, if they really start going against the ICE agents, then you expect something might happen. I don't know. Yeah, he was in that chat group. That's what I was talking about. Oops, I need to be careful. I don't want to show his name. Anyway, in case y'all hadn't seen it, guys, gold has been rallying. It's been going up. Guess what? It's past these prices now. It has just shot. Look at this. Gold is at $5,074.60 a troy ounce. And silver passed the 100 mark. It's now at 107.61. Wow. Remember when I started showing you this page and silver was $23 and gold was, I don't know, $1,400, $1,500? Well, if you've been listening to Steve Popper on the Popper Report, and I highly encourage y'all to watch him from time to time, he's a good man. And you can tell him, if you go in his chat room or you go in, well, he don't do a live session, but if you watch one of those videos, leave a note to him, say, Green Greg's, Greg Allison, Green Greg's, or send me here. I don't know if he knows my Silverhead News channel, but he'll know the Green Greg's channel. He says, so just tell him I sent you. He's a good man. And tell him I bragged on him. Well, he said on his channel that the banks, and I've seen this elsewhere, so I didn't just get this from him, but he just recently talked about this. He said there's a lot of articles out there on this, and I've seen these articles. He said the banks have basically shorted themselves. They've sold a lot of silver that they didn't possess, and now they got to come up with it. They're short. They don't have it, and they're about almost $500 billion short in silver. And so they got to try to get it. And he believes it's going to break a lot of really big banks. We're talking breaking them. So there could be a banking crisis at hand, my friends, a big one. It could have hit any day. Furthermore, their demand for this silver is just going to drive it up. And he also mentioned that silver like this is trading for like $160 in Japan. He said, hey, you could basically buy a bunch of this, put it on a plane and fly over there and make a bunch of money. Put it on a jet plane. So you might could do that. So this isn't the highest price. It's higher in other places. So if y'all want to buy gold and silver, it might still be a good time to do it. Given the analysis and the drop in dollar, it seems to make some sense. Now, I'm not a financial advisor, so I'm not going to sit here and speak with absolute certitudes on it. But guys, if you think that makes sense to you, I encourage you to check defythegrid.com. Defythegrid.com, because they have good prices on gold, silver, copper. You can buy bullions, rounds, or you can buy these gold backs, and like this, because you can put them in your wallet. I've carried this in my wallet quite a bit. You can put it in your wallet, and they're fungible amounts of gold. where you can get silver, and they got silver backs too now, silver notes. So something to think about, guys. Something to think about. If you go there, use the discount code GreenGregs, you'll get 1% off. And consider the profit margin is only 3 or 4%. That's pretty big. Anyway, well, and Mr. Peace loving guy who got the Nobel Prize when he first got elected to office before he did anything and started banging a lot of people with missiles and drones, President Barack Obama, he's urging more street protest, urging more and blaming Trump. Yeah, right. See, he's just stirring the pot. Do you believe he's stirring the pot? What do y'all think about it? It looks and smells to me like he is stirring the pot. And what do y'all expect? And he's not the only one. He's not the only. Got 36 people watching. That's pretty poor. Anyway, this is just stuff I didn't want to bring out on Green Grades. And this is more of I'm trying to keep these more political things over on this channel. So, and he's not the only one. How about this Antifa influencer declaring guerrilla war? And he's calling for people to go out and do violent things. Violent things. 36,000 Instagram followers. And he says, get your I don't want to say the word, take your nugs and stop federal law enforcement. He is calling for violence. So given people like this out there, you can expect it's going to get uglier. That's all I can say about it. It's going to get ugly. Then Bill Clinton got to weigh in on it too. Billy Slick Willie, don't believe what you see after the latest blah, blah, blah. Well, whatever. Slick Willie, he's got to weigh in too. Maybe he's trying to get the Epstein boogie off his back. So, and there's another man who made threats, got arrested. So, threats are being made. Some get arrested. Some are calling for other people to do things. And when you get ex-president out calling, ex-presidents calling for this kind of stuff, it doesn't help the situation. And then, look, some of these ICE officers are dealing with things. One got bits. They said the rioters were biting him, and he lost a finger because of it. Why did somebody bite his finger off? Anyway, well, here's the Constitution. You can go to archives.gov/founding-documents/Constitution-transcript. Because, if you go to Wikipedia, you don't get the full text. You get all their blah, 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 blah about it between every little piece. I hate that. I don't need them telling me what it says. And then here's the Bill of Rights and the rest of the amendments. Well, if you were to scan the Bill of Rights or anywhere in the Constitution, you're not going to find the word protest in it anywhere. Nowhere does it say protest. How old was he? I mean, the guy who he's pushing daisies now, or will be after they plant him. He was 37, same age as Renee Good. So if you're 37 years old in Minneapolis, Minnesota, stay away from ICE. Stay away from ICE. So if you read the First Amendment, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. No law to do that. It doesn't say you can't. It just says it'll make no law. That's been overinterpreted. That's why they take the 10 Commandments out of the schools and then wonder why kids act crazy these days. Anyway, or abridging the freedom of speech or the press or of the right of the people to peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances. What's it say? Peaceably, the right of the people, peaceably to assemble. Now, my friends, is obstructing a law enforcement operation peaceful? You're not blowing whistles and obstructing them, getting in scuffles with them. And now some wanting to take their nugs and go bang, bang. Well, I'm gonna tell you something. Those federal law enforcement officers are trained how to use them, and all these people you're calling to come in, they're not, and it will not go well for them going up against federal law enforcement. It's stupid, and it's stupid for anybody to call for such things. But there it is. You've seen it. Of course, the Second Amendment, a well-regulated militia, which used to be considered everybody, being necessary for the security of a free state. They didn't believe in standing armies. Founding fathers didn't. They thought every able-bodied man was a member of the militia. And I think, were well regulated. They was hoping they would meet occasionally and train. Anyway, which hasn't happened. But anyway, the right of the people. It doesn't say the militia here. It says the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Now, what part of that is hard to interpret? A lot of people have trouble with that. The right of the people to keep and bear arms. It doesn't say these kind of arms or those kind of arms or this kind of arm. If it's this long, if it goes bang, bang this often or that. No, it doesn't say nothing about that. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That's pretty darn plain in my book. But some people just don't know how to read, apparently. But anyway, so there's all the Constitution. You're not going to find anything in there that says you have to have the right to protest. But, peaceful assembly, if you want to call that a protest, no, sign, that's fine. Anyway, and just another item of news here. Something else that's been all over the YouTube lately, talking about China's most senior general accused of leaking secret nuclear plans to the United States. Yeah, this guy right here. You've seen him a lot through the years. Zhang Yuzi, I don't know how to say his last name, Youxia. The Chinese won't pronounce that way different than we would. I've heard his name, but I just don't recall it. So, this thing's freezing. Oh, my stuff's frozen. That's crazy. My memory should not be that bad right now. But no, it's not. I'm only on 39% memory. So why is it frozen? Can't do now. I got to stop the share for a second and come back in. Hello. Why does it do that? It drives me nuts. Now let's go back. It'll let me advance. For some reason, there's a glitch in the system. It did not. What did it kill that page? No. Just advanced me. So probably stupid ads killing it. Anyway, I hung up again? Yeah. Anyway, what I want to say about this is that's interesting. Now, usually when they get accused of stuff over in China, it doesn't mean that's what happened. It just means they wanted sufficient charges. This was the number 2 man militarily in China, only number 2 to Xi Jinping. This was his right-hand man, his main general. And the takeaway is that, Xi Jinping is going Stalin. He's afraid of everybody underneath him. And he's been replaced in a lot of the generals lately, and he finally went up to the number 2 guy, and he got another one too. He just replaced 2 major generals in China. And this could disrupt the chain of command a bit. It may take a little bit of time for somebody to come in place. It might delay taking Taiwan, for example, maybe. I've heard other YouTubers say, no, it may speed it up. Well, I really don't know how, but it is a disruption in the command, and whoever reassumes command's got to, spend a little time on it at least. But it may be getting to the point that, people going up the ladder of command may no longer see it a privilege. They might be scared of taking command because it means that they're probably going to get arrested and they wind up in prison or something because the top man is getting paranoid. So anybody percolating up is really going to have to appease. Blinked on me. Maybe it'll do something now. Really got to appease the top man, Xi Jinping. But it never worked under Stalin. He offed everybody underneath him. And so you get into a place where when you're Xi Jinping, that you never hear the truth. Everybody tells you lies. Because they're going to tell you what you want to hear. The emperor's naked, kind of a deal. So it can lead to Xi Jinping, who has absolute power, to make an absolutely stupid decisions based on the bad information he's getting because nobody's willing to tell him the truth. So he thinks everything's great. Yeah, my military's in great shape. So let's hit Taiwan. Let's hit the United States, and maybe it is, or maybe it isn't. We do know there's a lot of graft and corruption in China. That's a given. That's always been part of the structure of a big command economy like that. It's almost unavoidable because that's just the way they do business. So, this whole thing of charging people with corruption is pretty darn easy because it's widespread. But in this case, selling nuclear secrets to the United States. Now, I've seen where somebody claimed, well, he might have done it and being actually encouraged to start a coup. There's a lot of stuff going around about a coup. None of it is substantiated, by the way. A lot of channels talking there was a coup. I'm hearing and seeing that a lot. And Jennifer Zing is one of the main people that started putting that out there first. And her track record of accuracy and the things she's claimed in the past has been somewhat less than absolutely spectacular. So I wouldn't take it to the bank by any measure. There's been a lot of YouTubers out there claiming that Xi Jinping was pushing daisies. He was under house arrest, that this guy here had taken over China, and none of it was ever true. So, and Xi Jinping disappeared for a few days. Maybe he got the flu or something. There would be all kind of rumors going around, and the internet would be ablaze. What's going on in China? And we got Chinese experts here telling us. They're telling us this, and it's all hooey. So you got to be careful what people are putting out, and be careful what you hear. I'm not going to come out and say this guy, is pushing any daisies. That Xi Jinping is not. Xi Jinping is in power. Let's just put it that way. He's in power, and he's proved it. So did this guy sell nuclear secrets to the United States? I hope he did. I hope we got that data, but don't bank on that either, because it's probably just the kind of allegation they needed to take such a powerful guy down. So, yeah, there's so much hooey been broadcast on YouTube right now, so many other channels, and they get a zillion more views than me. And, and they put out, I don't know what, all kind of nonsense. And that's my problem. I need to talk more nonsense. I might do better. But anyway, so there it is. Something's going on over there. Xi Jinping got kind of, what the heck? Hit an ad. Let's go here to the next thing. We're not going to talk anymore about China today. I kind of got in the middle of other things. I wanted to, we know one of the Democrats hate ICE, and they say it's got zilch to do with empathy. This article, again, I think I mentioned this before, is talking about these blue cities are trying to keep their demographics up in the blue states so that they can have more members of Congress and keep the woke party in power. But there's also that UN agenda they've been pushing for a long time, the woke agenda, the WEF, the WEF, the House of Klaus, which seems to be falling apart right now, so they're getting desperate. Desperate people do desperate things. And, of course, Mexico has played in on this, how Mexico works some militants in U.S. soil to foment unrest and illegal immigration because they profit from it, and they would like to see the United States fall. There's actually some agendas, and some of them have fantasies about retaking states like the one I live in. Yeah, fat chance. But anyway, that's what's out there, my friends. So, but there's an opportunity to do something. One reason you don't see all this mess in other states is because the law enforcement in the other states don't have sanctuary cities. The local law enforcement apprehends these illegal aliens, and they turn them over to Customs and Border Patrol. They say, here, I got this guy. Come get him. Get him off my hands. I don't want this guy around. That's what most normal law-abiding states are doing. So they don't need ICE going through the streets because the law enforcement does it. So Trump ought to call their bluff. And I'm going to ask you to request the president call their bluff. Just say, hey, Tim Waltz, we can defuse this easily. Just abide by the law. You guys arrest these guys and bring them to me. You know they're not going to, but he should put it out there just to call their bluff. So if you want to do that, come here to the Freedom Restoration Foundation. This thing had a glitch yesterday. It was showing up as an unsecured site. Now I logged into it, it doesn't show that way. If you ever see it show up as an unsecured site, it might be either a glitch or maybe I didn't get the SSO paid for or something, but I'm pretty sure I did. All you got to do is go down to advanced and click and go to it anyway, down the lower left-hand corner of this page. Anyway, so if you come in here and go to this Action Center tab, and scroll to the bottom past all these old alerts. I need a new webmaster. Any volunteers to be a webmaster for this site so we can put up new alerts again? Anyway, it comes in and it tells you, your voice counts. You can track bills in Congress, 2 sites to do that with. You can track bills in your state, site to do that. State legislator websites tell you how to contact people at your state legislator. Then for the U.S. Congress, it tells you how to go find your congressman. Who is your congressman if you don't know? And, the directory for the House of Representatives, and there's a switchboard number, Capitol Hill switchboard. Once you know who your member of the House of Representatives are, or your 2 Congress senators, you can call that switchboard, and you say 1 for Senate and 2, say, or press, 2 for the House of Representatives. And you can get straight to the office you want. Tells you how to find out who your senator is. And this gives you advice on sending email, calling, writing, what to write, what to say on the telephone. These are just general approaches how to do it. Now, the actual what you say depends on the message you're delivering. And then again, here's all those resources all kept together. And here's kind of the things I believe in: right to bear arms, freedom of speech, and independence of not taking hokey pokies, if you know what I mean. So check it out, freedomrestorationfoundation.org. I think when I started talking about that website, when I got squelched here on YT, they don't like somebody telling people how they can take care of stuff. Anyway, for the storms in the United States, huge numbers of flights canceled all across the United States. And when this was published, it said 11,400. That's crazy. And somebody just posted there something about a plane crash. And maybe they shouldn't have been flying. One massive winter storm dumped sleet and freezing rain and snow over much of the United States. Now, the pattern they showed, it didn't include out here in Arizona, but I had some snow. I think it snowed here last night. Probably got over 1 inch, maybe 2 inches, but the ground was still warm enough that whatever hit the ground melted. But we got a lot of bushes here. Whatever hit the bushes didn't melt. So, oh yeah, by the way, I gave you guys a solution to try to diffuse this stuff. I try to bring solutions, not just problems. So, compounding the danger, severe storm warnings, and tornado watches, there was also tornado, warnings, have been issued on Sunday, so this is already passed now, across parts of Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Panhandle. I heard there was tornadoes like when there was snowing in Mississippi. I don't know, guys, ice breaking things down. So, just a little story. Just a little story, guys. Somebody posted somewhere in the chat, I saw, what? Ice in Mississippi? It blew their mind. I was born in northeast Alabama. That's where I grew up, on a place called Sand Mountain. And in the year 1960, just right before I was born, the area where I grew up on Sand Mountain was hit by a huge ice storm. It was thick. It was so heavy, I found copies of the old Sand Mountain Reporter from the era. It showed pictures of chicken houses whose roof, and back then all the chicken houses were pretty new. The chicken industry was new in that area. Roofs of chicken houses had caved in from the weight of the ice on them. Power lines were down. It took quite a while to get power reestablished. My parents used to tease me. They were on the verge of naming me Snowball or Icicle. Ice Baby, right? That was almost my nickname, Snowball or Icicle. But the day I was born, the sun came out and everything thawed out. The day I was born, the sun came out and it all thawed. How about that? See, I brought sunshine to the world. Anyway, so let's go on here. I only got 2 more things, and I'll look at the chat room real quick. Y'all know, the show's only got 44 in the chat. But looks like there's a lot of people chatting in the chat. So, all right, what's wrong with this site? I'm going to hit the refresh button on it. Let's do that. Why is it not showing? There we are. There's the continents. A lot of little earthquakes all over the place. And the Puerto Ricans are having fun tonight. They're really dancing. There's always earthquakes there in West Texas and southeast New Mexico. Stonewall Gap, Colorado had a 2.8. The latest one's up here in Alaska. That's actually the name of the petroleum company. It's Alaska. 3.0, Denali National Park, where Mount McKinley's at. Anyway, a bunch of mountain Aleutians all down in here. A lot of them, around Redwood. Willow, that's where the ex-governor of Alaska lived for a while. And what we got here? All right, now, so let's back up. See, right this area, all around Indonesia and Japan, Philippines, this area is huge for big earthquakes. Biggest one I see is this 5.0 in the volcanic islands, Japan. We had one there the other night. Got one here in Timor, 5.1. Out here north of New Zealand, Tonga. But Tonga area, that's where we had a big volcano. We got a fresh one over here in Asia. Looks like it's in China. 5.5 in Dagana, however you say it, China. Anyway, just your normal earthquakes in that area. But here in the Kamchatka Peninsula, they keep having aftershocks there. It's close to that submarine base that got wiped out, prompted some people to want to attack Russia. Look, Operation Spider-Web got their planes, the submarines are gone. Now's the best time. There's no best time unless they're about to hit you and you're trying to do a preemptive. There's some sunspots, but, none of those are looking too threatening. However, on the other side of Mars, we got this. This is on the other side of Mars, my friends. Huge sunspots being seen by I guess it's the Mars rover there. Not a great picture, but that's not an optical, that's meant to image Mars, not the sun. But they started turning to the sun because they can see stuff there we can't see. So this is liable to roll back around to us. Let's hope they die down. It's not a high resolution, but they're big sunspots. Let's hope they die down or don't build up before they come around. They could go either way. They could die down or build up worse. So we're not out of the woods. Even though there's nothing threatening us right now, we're not out of the woods. Just something for you to know. And in the world of asteroids, that was one lunar distance away, but nothing is coming between the Earth and the Moon very soon. Nothing we see, and that's good to know. All the way to the 25th of March. How about that? So that's the news for people, our coffee club members in the morning who drink coffee, getting ready to work, want to watch the news. That's the news portion. I'm going to go through the chat now. Let's see what folks have to say. And we're going to try to wrap this up. We'll try to wrap it up a little faster than normal tonight. So let's see, I'm going to blow this page up. I'm going to look at it from here. Anyway, let's see here. Hello from North Idaho. Lori Jameson, good to see you. Have you heard of the chemtrail people trying to light the snow on fire? Funny. The history of using full military force in American cities is not a good one. No. That can turn ugly. But the Insurrection Act has been used over 30 times by quite a number of presidents. But you can bet that they're going to hoop and holler about it this time if it's used. Why no handcuffs? Well, they hadn't got it. He hadn't submitted yet. They were trying to get him down, probably to cuff him. And he actually tried to stand up, and he had his hand coming from his pocket. Yeah. His hand was coming from his pocket region. He had something in it, and somebody had yelled the word "nug" and heard a shot, and then they just unloaded on him. Bottom line, they should have cuffed him, body searched him then. Well, apparently they didn't already get the firearm off of him. One of them did. The rest of them didn't know that because after that, they heard the word nug and they're going, "Where's it at?" And then somebody, and this is on the video, you can hear that part. One of the videos caught this. And well, so the guy in the gray suit down there got it. The guy that took it just walked away. He just grabbed it and just walked away. But as he was walking away, it went bang. And you can actually see in the video, the slides back, and you can see a puff of smoke. So I do believe that's what happened. But it's the videos are kind of hard to interpret some things from. Uh, well, Kristi Noem is doing, I guess, what she do. Being a Marxist can be hazardous to your health. That's that's true. A new days got Arnold Schmidt and Jason Schmidt. Got all my Schmidts in the house tonight. All right, got both Schmidts. That's right, New Days. Constitutional rights are for Americans. Let's see. Salute Green Greggs. Hey, Beaver Valley. How you doing? Salute to you. Why a private jet taking off in poor weather conditions, you think it would be smarter? Oh, is that what the crash was? Well, they should have been. Because you can build up ice on your wing in flight. You might not have it before you take off, but it can build up in flight, and that'll definitely bring you down if that happens to you. Helicopters too, by the way. In fact, a lot of the Apache helicopters got heaters in the rotors to try to keep them from icing up. It may not be successful, but they're there. I know because I worked on one for a bit. They do have heater circuits in them. Of course, the heater circuits can fail too. Talking about the plane crash in Maine this evening. Alleged it was a private jet for a law firm somewhere in Texas. Yeah, they should have known better. Yeah, there's still more information to come in, no doubt. There's still more information to come in. I didn't weigh in on this for a bit. I wanted to see more of what was going on. Speaking with ICE and BP here in the northern border, now, New Days lives 2 miles from the border. She lives 2 miles from the Canadian border. They state illegal aliens have no rights, and that's how Obama got rid of 3 million of them without any court intervention. Of course, they weren't protesting it then, They weren't trying to game the elections like they are now because they thought they had it. They didn't have to. Plus, also, back during the Obama days, the Democrats were trying to cater to the labor unions a little bit, but the labor unions got smart and figured out that they weren't doing anything good for them, and they switched and started voting Republican. And so now the labor unions are not on their side, at least the rank and file, the organizations maybe, rank and file's not, they're no longer catering to labor. So they don't care anymore. Thank you, Jason, for calling for the thumbs up, like button. No worries for your accommodation. Anyone just discussing the matter. Yeah, that's what we do here. Yeah, he had the right to carry. I agree with that, Peppermint Patty. I do. I care where we go. If you see me, expect me to be loaded to the bear. And I hope never to use it. Just because I'm loaded to the bear don't mean I got any intent to use it. See, that does not equal intent. And that's what Kristi Noem said. And that's what Gregory Vinovich, or whatever his name is, said. They're wrong. That's all there is. They're wrong on that word. As I said, it's really messed up because of several different rulings from Trump using the 1798 Alien Act. The court needs to review it again. It will take that Psalms 27 survey quite interesting. Telling the military one not to obey lawful orders, and they knew the insurrection was coming. Yeah, that probably had a lot to do with it. Which channel is that, Arnold? Hey, Alaska's in the house. Good to see you, Mag Rising. Could be a trap. Well, everybody is just trying to ratchet this stuff up. Some people, like I said, they want a civil war. I don't think the woke side's going to win, though. JP Morgan pay out the paper contracts and lose $1 billion in the process. Yeah, they may lose $1 billion. Yeah, I heard the leader of Chechnya. What's his name? Is that redheaded guy? Uh, Zardikov. What's that guy's name? I thought I'd remember it. Yeah, he's been sick. He's been in the hospital for a bit. And Tifa should be careful what they wish for. That's very true. That's very true. I don't think they got their rear end to back up their mouth. That's what I say. 49-year-old kidney failure. Now, who are we talking about, Jason? 49-year-old kidney failure. Oh, Katarov. Yeah, that's it. Him. Katarov. Well, probably drinking too much. In Russia, man, you go to a meeting and you're expected to down a shot of vodka. I mean, that's just expected. I actually practiced it before I went to Russia because I knew I was going to be meeting with all these Russian space agency officials. I knew I was going to have to down a shot of vodka. So I practiced it before I went over there and back in March of 2010. Sure enough, I'd hate to have to do it today because I know that would set me in tachycardia severely the next day. Now I can't do it anymore. Just can't do it. Cuban American Monday and Tuesday night. I'll say Wednesday night may get in the 20s. Wow. In Florida? You're down in Miami, aren't you? If it gets down to 20s in Miami, that's pretty bad. He had his last breath except Jesus. There you go. But what you do if you die in a car accident or driving on the snow and black ice everywhere, just going out for a drive for a coffee. Yeah, I had an incident on black ice. The first time I didn't even know what it was until I hit it. Yeah, that's true, Jason. They lie in China all the time. We went to Dallas today to see how bad things were on the highways. Black ice everywhere. Yeah, you don't want to be on the roads with black ice. Trust me. Do not go on the roads with black ice. Just don't even think about it. Yeah, we don't know. There was all these reports of morgues and the crematories just burning full time and smoke from the crematories. A lot. Yeah, we don't know what happened. 2020. We know they locked down all the cities. The people got furious. So that's why we were all worried about it first over here. The reports we were here from China and stuff they were covering, that got a lot of us concerned. Me too. We didn't know what this thing was that was coming to us. Traction aids for your boots. They on black ice, sometimes nothing works. Kitty litter. Okay. You got a cat or just beer escort? I got a cat. My cat's outside right now. He stayed inside last night because when it started snowing, he came to the door and started meowing real pitifully, and I let him in. He hasn't done that tonight. I guess he's happy chasing rats tonight. But I let him in last night because he came to the door and he had a pretty pitiful meow, and I looked at him. He was covered in snow and wet, and I just let him in the house. They didn't look. They didn't look competent the way they were attempting to subdue him. Yeah, I don't know. Well, maybe just they were all getting in each other's way. I mean, the video I saw was just a whole crowd of people moving to one thing, and this girl gets knocked over or pushed over, and he jumps in there, and it was just a huddle. It was nuts. Everything was happening really fast, really fast. Don't go to a peaceful event with popcorn loaded. Well, I think the best thing starting a mouse is just to stay the heck away, right? No ID. Yeah, that was interesting. They did figure out who he was. No ID. So, yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. Up here in Alberta, I forgot my driver's license. I don't end up burnt toast. I get a ticket for failing to produce documents. Well, yeah, but you also weren't in the middle of a law enforcement operation. It was being impeded by a lot of hecklers and whistleblowers and people blocking traffic and gosh knows what else. I hit black ice driving a little sports car a few years back. Wouldn't advise it. No, I wouldn't advise it whatsoever. Okay, I'll tell my what time is it? And I'll tell my little story on black ice. I had when I had a Ford 72 F100 pickup truck back in. I bought it when I went in the Army in '79. Bought it from my brother-in-law, my wife's brother, and it was a nice truck for the time. So I went to North Carolina. I moved all my stuff on that truck. I think I made 2 or 3 trips from Alabama to Fort Bragg. Boy, if you knew what all I had to move to get out here was crazy different. Back then, I didn't have so much junk. And yeah, I think I done it in 2 trips, just stuff in the back of my truck. And I took that truck to Alaska, but we drove. Now I drove all the way down from Alaska, and I got out of the Army, the same truck. But going up, I drove to Seattle, and we flew from Seattle to Fairbanks, and took a bus to Fort Greely. There was a troop bus that would go back and forth from the airport to Fort Greely, or Fort Wainwright to Fort Greely, or something like that. We took that bus, my wife and my little boy, and me, and I flew back down to Seattle to get my truck. When I had no, excuse me, I drove to Seattle and shipped the truck, and we flew up to go back down. My truck actually was sent to. It came into Anchorage, so I had to go down to Anchorage and get it. And how did I get to Anchorage? I probably flew military space available. I don't even remember now. I had to. I flew military space available to get to Anchorage, and I picked up my truck, and I was driving it back. I told everybody I'd be back like a night later because I was going to take the safer roads and go around like through Fairbanks, by Denali and Fairbanks. But I decided, no, I don't want to spend an extra day. I am going to go straight through, what's the name of that pass? I want to say Elizabeth Pass. I'm going to go straight through the Alaska Range up the Richardson Highway, and which was, not the best place to be. I was driving on what I could see was ice on mountain passes with no guardrail, with like several hundred, maybe 1,000 feet drop off, and I look down, all you'd see is black, and you're driving on the road and it's ice. And I got through the mountain pass. I thought, yeah, I licked it. I got it. I'll be home in 20 minutes. And I come down this hill down a saddle. The road was black. I thought it was fine. And suddenly the rear end of my truck came around. I thought, what? So I cut into it like you're supposed to, right? On black ice, it don't matter. I started going, whoosh. I went into tailspin. At this point, I was down at the bottom of the saddle, and they had built the road up there. The road was like 12 foot higher, the embankment over the surrounding terrain. I went off. But believe you me, I was praying to Jesus at that point. And I was very fortunate. Instead of going off sideways and flipping, or 100 different ways I could have went off that could have killed me, I went off tail first straight down that embankment. And the top of the embankment was way above my truck. Caught a willow tree between in the wheel well, my front tire, busted a mirror out on the right side. The truck wasn't that bad damaged, except for that willow tree. I wasn't able to get it out. And so they wasn't me getting that truck out at that point. So I sat there and I thought about it. Says, well, am I going to stay here for the night? Because I didn't really have any sleeping gear. I thought, well, maybe I'd be all right. It's freezing outside. I thought maybe I'll be okay. I might just stay here, or maybe I'll walk in the base. I was really debating that. And then I saw these lights coming. And I said, oh, somebody else is coming. Maybe I can ride with them. Maybe they'll rescue me. I'll just wait and catch a ride. So I waited. It seemed like an hour. That vehicle was coming mighty slow, and they went through the same pass. And then the vehicle got on top of the pass, and I started celebrating. That thing went off the road immediately at the top. I went off way down the hill. That one went off immediately on the top. And, well, that was a good thing because I thought, well, I can push that one back up on the road. I ran up there, and there was a woman. She had never been out of the state of Alaska in her life, and she had studded tires. And she lost control faster than I did. She had studded tires. I didn't have studded tires, chains, or nothing. Never did. The whole time I was up there, never put on studded tires, never put on chains. But I ran up there, and uh, she was driving a little car. It might have been a Pinto or something. It was just a little car. I, I pushed that thing. We got it back up on the road, and all the way back to Fort Greeley, it was sliding around everywhere, even with studded tires. This woman, she thought she knew how to drive it, but she had that black ice that got her too. So, so that made me feel a lot better about it. So I went back up and woke up this sergeant who was a mechanic in my group I worked in, Sergeant Schwab. Don't remember his full name. I wonder if he's still alive. Schwab. He was a heavy drinker. I woke him up. So, hey, he said, well, what are you doing here? Hey, you're supposed to be here till tomorrow. I said, well, I decided to go through the pass and I ran off the road. So, can you come get me out? Well, he had a four-wheel drive Bronco, and I think he had studded tires. So we went back out there, and he was sliding all over the place. And I got him and tried to stand up on that stuff, and you couldn't stand on it even. It was crazy. And I got down and looked at the highway, and now this is true black ice. What a lot of people call black ice. I don't think it is, but the individual little gravels of asphalt had just a little bit of ice over them, every one of them, just a little bit. It was just, it coated them individually. It wasn't a slick, solid sheet, but that was the slickest stuff you ever saw. I mean, you couldn't stand on the stuff. I guess it was ice with just a sheen of water on it. And it was crazy. Well, he got his truck, threw a rope to the other truck, cut out the willow tree. He bought a chainsaw, cut that thing out, and he drove off on the other side of because he had a four-wheel drive, on the other side of the embankment, and pulled that thing over. And we went back that way, just slipping and sliding all over the place. It was crazy. It had a 302 engine. 302, 302 cubic inches. C4 transmission and it was an automatic transmission and a 302 engine. So anyway, what's up, Swivel Heads? Hey, Greg, I normally sleep at this hour. Wife and I are talking, turns listening for tree snaps. Oh, I just hope one don't snap next to you. That's the good thing about here. My trees don't stick. They're not higher than my house. I don't have to clean leaves out of my gutters. I got to have a gutter because I got rainwater collection. I won't have to clean leaves out of it. And no tree is going to break and fall on my house here. I had these tall, 100-foot tall pines right next to my house in Alabama, and I was always worried a storm would get those things and it would crash on the house and just bust the house all to pieces. That was one of my worries there. So, yeah, it had a 302 engine in it. And I basically, it was a great truck. I mean, you could crawl inside the wheel, you can crawl inside the engine wheel and work on the engine. You can stand next to the engine and work on it because there's a lot of space. They didn't put all that crap in the engins back then. It didn't have AC or nothing like that. You could crawl in and work on it. Back in the 70s, you had points plugs, and regular old distributor, that kind of stuff. Just an old-fashioned truck. And I'll tell you a transmission story about it one day. So I had a little adventure in my transmission. I'll save that for another night. It's getting late. So I just want to give you guys a skinny. The bottom line of everything I'm saying is you can expect it to get worse. Sliding away. Oh, we got an egg test. We got an egg guess we can do here in a little bit. I'll let y'all guess how many eggs I got today in a minute. Don't hold it. Don't do it yet. Nobody pre-guess. Wait till I say go. But the bottom line, let's finish this up. The bottom line is that things can get a lot worse. It could spread, especially in cities, especially if you're in a blue city. Don't go downtown. Don't go around this mess. Stay away from it. There's nothing to be gained by getting involved in this stuff. Nothing to be gained whatsoever, guys. Just stay away. But the tensions are getting so high. You got to stay situationally aware. Keep your eyes wide open, head on the swivel. We may be getting in a war with Iran anytime. I'm going to cover that on Green Greg's maybe the next night or two, if it hadn't already started. Another transmission story. Oh, this is one where I fixed the transmission. Somebody come along and messed with it while I was working on it. So not nearly as bad as the first one. So, all right. Well, here it is. I knew that I had just a little C4 transmission, and I had built a camper shell for my truck to take some of my stuff home. And I bought a travel trailer from a major Boschman. He became a colonel. And I met him later when I was working at Missile Defense, because he was a colonel at the Space and Missile Defense Command, where I was at in Huntsville, Alabama. He relocated there. And later he started a company. He spun off a company with lighter than aircraft. And I was doing balloons, so it's kind of funny. But anyway, he sold me a travel trailer. So I was going to pull a 21-foot travel trailer, and we put a half ton in the back of that quarter-ton truck. I swear, we put a half ton of whole baggage in the back of my quarter-ton truck. And I knew I had to cross the Canadian Rockies and drive through Alberta, Arnold. I might have passed by you. I might have saw you standing on the side of the road, Arnold. I knew I had to drive through there. And so now, like I said, I was going to cross the Canadian Rockies, and the Rockies 3 times in Canada. And I crossed the mountains and the states. Them Canadian Rockies were something. But I knew this rig I had wasn't really up to it by itself. So I put a transmission shift kit in. I took the valve body out of the transmission. Yeah, I did it. We had a motorcraft shop there at Fort Greeley, fortunately. So I took this thing out. Now, there was 4 springs. They looked absolutely identical, but they weren't. They all had different spring constants. They controlled the check valves in that transmission. And my job was to take them out and replace a few check valve balls and some other things. So it would shift harder, basically, and controlling the shift. And I also put a transmission fluid cooler on it because it would get hot. But in any event, I had these laid out because I knew if you mix these springs up, you're going to have trouble. So I was real meticulous in how I laid these out on a towel where I knew which one was which. This dumb sergeant walks up, picks these springs up, and goes, "Hey, what are these?" I was about to kill him. I had to just guess. I couldn't tell which one was which. There was no way. They all looked identical. I had them sorted out. If he hadn't come along and picked them up, I'd had no problem. I had to experiment and put those springs in, put in that check valve, put the valve body in, and drive it. And I would not have second gear. I wouldn't have third gear. I wouldn't have first gear. I wouldn't have reverse. We wouldn't know you drove it. And then you'd have to take it back in and then change them out again. And it took me about 3 or 4 times just to get the darn thing running right, because that knucklehead walked up and just picked my stuff up. "Well, what are these?" It's like, "Oh, you can't, you numbskull." Well, I cussed him out. I mean, he outranked me, but I didn't care. I was mad. He's like backed out later. He knew he screwed up. So it was like, geez. Anyway, so that's my first transmission story. Yeah, I've been into automatic transmissions a couple times. I don't recommend it. I have pour and part transmissions. Not a fun thing. Not my cup of tea. I'm not a mechanic, by the way. I've done a lot of mechanic work when I was too poor to hire anybody. But boy, I tell you, the reason I'm not a mechanic is that's the one thing that gets me mad is working on cars. Because they put all kind of stuff in there just to make you have to buy like a double universal joint to get to a specific bolt, or just stupid stuff. That always frosts my flakes. Anyway, there you got the transmission story. Steering on a 200,000 watt power in Davidson County, Metro Nashville. Wow. Good idea, guys. A lot of people without power. Some people may have medical emergencies. That's a lot to be worried about. How do I sound? Let me ask you, how do I sound? I'm using my DJI mic. Can y'all see it? I don't know if you can see it or not. I'm using this DJI mic. I finally got this thing working right. I think. Pardon me. So how do I sound? Everybody, when you go to bed tonight, do pray for the people up in this ice storm. You can source out a Mr. Heater, Big Buddy, propane heater. Yeah, but you got to get it before the storm hits. Sounds good. I sound better than I did. I'm glad to hear that. I got a Mr. Buddy right over here, and that's what's heating me up right now. I got turned on low. It's over 70, about 72. Do I sound better than normal? Yeah, it's late. I got to get up early in the morning, so we need to wrap this up. It takes me about an hour to get everything processed. Fantastic. That's good to hear. That's good to hear. All righty. Mr. Buddy propane. Yep. All right, good, good. Is the sound better than it used to be? Let me ask that way. Is the sound better than it used to be? I'm really wondering if the mic on the camera is just as good as this one. I think it might be honest. Yeah. I got mine right over here right now. Much cleaner. Okay. Glad to hear that. So it paid off. Wow, this thing's expensive. This is what my buddy Steve Popper told me I needed to do to get more views. He said I needed better sound. All right, good. All righty, folks. I got some eggs here. Guess, go. How many eggs I got? Guess, how many eggs I harvest today? First guess wins. How many eggs did I harvest today? I'm waiting. I'm watching. How many did I get? Been cold, been snowy. Sounds good. Thank you. Trump 45. Do we have a Trump 47 house? Keep guessing. Keep guessing. Keep guessing. Keep guessing. Keep guessing. Oh, there it is. Tom Wary. You got it. Tom Wary got the right guess. It's 5. We got 5 eggs today. See that? 5. 5 eggs. Tom Wary. Salute to Tom Wary. 5 eggs is the count. Oh, Tom got to guess first. 5 eggs. 5. My hands have been busy lately. I'm really surprised. They've been giving me a good number of eggs pretty consistently the last 3 days, in spite of cold weather and snow. I'm gonna tell you something. My stupid hens. Last night it was my leghorns was outside in the darn cold rain just before it started snowing. Wind was blowing, and she was outside. After sunset, she should have been in the nest, but she was outside for a bit. I thought, that stupid hen, I thought I'd find her dead this morning, but she was just fine. Anyway, I thought, man, this hen's crazy. Alrighty, folks. So that's pretty much it for tonight. I do ask everybody when you go to bed, say a prayer for all the people suffering from the ice storm. Do that. A lot of people without power, and we need to keep them in our thoughts and prayers. It's a tough time for most people. Tom wins a self-funded trip to lost wages. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I do. I did take my lock off my battery building before the snow and ice came in because I didn't want my lock to freeze. I had it freeze on me once, and so I took it off just in case I needed to turn on the generator and throw my master switch, which is out there. And I had the fuel to run my generators, but I never had to run them, fortunately. So, not this time. And it snowed yesterday, but it melted off the panels real fast this morning. It was gone real quick. Anyway, yeah, I got to get up early tomorrow. I got a meeting. Be ready. Y'all take care. Bad times don't last forever. That's true. If you read the good book, we may be in for some rough times. But I think how they hit us and how it approaches is up to us. for a large part. I think we do have some control over it. I think we can moderate what kind of path we go down in those kind of times. Feed type. I buy 3 different feeds and mix them. They get pellets, they get grain, they get crumbles. And the grains are mixed. So they get a really good mixture of food. And I feed them greens about twice a day. I spoil them. Yeah, I spend more on greens than I'd spend for eggs if I bought them. My hens are happy. I try to keep them happy as I can. So they, when I walk outside, they're all sitting there. They're all up against the fence wire, waiting on me to come. They're all excited. They just can't wait for me to come in and give them some greens. They love it. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for watching. Please share my videos. Put them in your social media and share them, because, you know, the algorithms are stumping on me. They don't like it that I promote things like the Freedom Restoration Foundation, apparently. So I think that's when my views really dropped like a rock, when I started talking that. They don't like that. But, you know, I do believe that there's things we can do and take in the hand ourselves. So anyway, with that, I am going to say thank you all for watching. Thank you, mods, for keeping it clean here. Again, thank you all for watching. And just keep your eyes wide open and hell and swivel. And you may want to just send a letter or a note to the president and say, hey, tell them that, hey, okay, call their bluff. So if you're law enforcement, do its job, we won't have to do this. So at least it'll change the language. You know, they won't do anything about it, but at least he can call their bluff, and then it'll be on them. You know what I mean? Anyway, take care of yourselves, folks. Yeah. Help the elderly. Yeah, especially in this ice storm. Absolutely. When I mean back from down under, hey, all of a sudden, how you doing? And I wish everybody can stay warm, stay safe, because the weather right now is rough. With that said, to one and all, a good night, day, wherever you are, and Greg out.